We really don't understand the amount of people who are walking around feeling betrayed by God. Like genuinely feel like God let them down. And this is important because there's a lot of people who believe in God. They truly believe in his might, his power. They believe in Jesus. They believe in his blood. However, when it comes to them personally in their personal life, they don't believe that God is going to show up on their behalf. Now, that can be a self-worth issue. That can be things that you've gone through in life. However, we don't highlight enough the people who their reason for not being able to trust God is because they feel like God betrayed them. We really don't understand some of the emotional, mental, physical abuse and trauma that a lot of people have gone through. And yes, after you've gone through that trauma and you recognize, what your mother did and your father did, or your cousin or your brother or your auntie or that neighbor, etc. After you've gone through all of that, I find, especially when I'm working with my clients, is one of the questions that's always asked is, where was God in all this? That is the number one question. Where was God? And when people question where God was in this, understand that it makes it fundamentally difficult to trust God if you believe that you've gone through something in life and he had the opportunity, especially when you were a child and in your innocence, and he had the opportunity to save you and he didn't. That's tough. And this is how you end up looking, lukewarm. That's a popular thing that people like to say. I don't really go down that area. But this is how you end up looking lukewarm, is because you don't have that confidence and you don't have that trust in God. So you stay in that middle ground. So understand, when you are operating in this space, you're no different from that unbeliever that believes in being a good person. Because when you're not walking in trust with God and you're not walking in that alignment and faith, that means you're reliant on you being a good person. Now, there might be things and truths and principles that you operate by and scriptures that keep you morally upright as good as possible, depending on how much you actually read and invest, in the scriptures. But other than that, you're no different than a person that's out there in the world that's believing in being a good person just like you. And this is why your lifestyles can pretty much look the same oftentimes, but you say you believe in Jesus and they say they don't. Because at the end of the day, you guys both have something where you're unified, which is you have more trust in yourself. The only thing is that they're willing to admit the fact that they don't believe that there's a God. You're still saying that you believe in him, but you don't trust him. Now, this is not a judgment, nor this is a condemnation towards you. This is just a reality of the space that so many people are trapped in. And when you guys are sitting there trying to, judge the world and look at the world and where they're at, you really need to examine yourself. Right? And truly look at you and where you're at in your walk with God. Because we don't recognize the amount of us that are walking around having this secret animosity towards God, or this secret offense that we carry in our heart. And the enemy is using that against you. And not only is he using that against you, the fact that you're not able to walk in that trust is what's causing you to not manifest the things that God has called you to manifest. It's causing you to not walk in the power that God has called you to walk in. And you're putting more burden on yourself than what you need to. Now, this is not a judgment. This is not a condemnation. This is simply that moment of clarity so we can really look at what's underneath the hood. Okay. Now, my name is Michelle. I'm a faith-based mindset coach, but my focus is not just in making sure that you're getting that mental freedom. It's the spiritual freedom. It's the emotional freedom. It's the physical freedom. It's all of these freedoms that you're going to need so that you can walk in the full essence and the holistic totality that God has called you to walk in. If you are walking in this space of lacking trust of God, and you also feel like God did not show up for you, and underneath it, you feel like he's betrayed you, then that means that you feel unloved. That means that you feel like you don't matter. That means that you don't feel like you're a priority to God. That means that you feel insignificant. That means that you feel unimportant. Now, this might not be things that you want to confess with your mouth, right? Our ego tries to protect us from thinking things like this about her. No, this can't be me. But your actions are already indicating this. But you have to tell the truth. You have to speak the truth, because God can only heal what you reveal. So when you're willing to reveal this to him, the world don't need to know. The world doesn't need to be in your business. But when you allow yourself to go through the process of revealing this in your relationship with God, then he can begin that process of reconciliation. Because at the end of the day, in order for you to manifest that best version of you, in order for you to manifest that vision and that promise that he's given you, you need to be the type of person that's walking by faith. And it's impossible, one, to please God without faith. That's number one, that's scripture. But number two, it's impossible for you to walk by faith if you don't trust him. How are you going to successfully walk out a faith walk, which is literally going to be the walk that you're going to have for the rest of your life? How are you going to be able to successfully do this if you're struggling to trust him? No, it's going to be this constant stop and go, stop and go, stop and go, stop and go, because the trust isn't there. And we want to fix that. When you're in that state of mind, when you're not trusting God, what it does is that it causes you to put more things on yourself than what you need to. You begin to be empowered in your intelligence, or in your ability to speak, or in your degree, in your money. You begin to be empowered in all these external things because you're not able to have confidence in the internal thing because you lack trust for God. And because you lack trust for God, you're not able to see the fullness of how he sees you. So all you can see is what the world tells you about you, or what the world said is required of you for you to be great. And now you begin to try to measure up to those standards instead of allowing him to illuminate the truth of what he's already deposited in you and allowing that to come forth. So when you have that kind of struggle, what ends up happening is you end up operating in survival strength, which is what I talk about a lot here, instead of divine empowerment. Because how can you be divinely empowered if you don't trust the one and you don't have faith in the one where that divine empowerment comes from? So trusting God is your biggest breakthrough when it comes to transforming your life. Trust cannot just be intellectualized. Trust will be seen in your fruits. Your fruits will produce it. The actions you take will produce it. It's literally an ecosystem. It's an atmosphere. It's one thing to spray a little bit of perfume and say, oh my gosh, I smell good. It's another thing to walk in an atmosphere and you can smell the fragrance of the entire atmosphere. Trust is a fragrant thing. When you walk in trust with God, it's not just putting this little sampler on your wrist and saying, that's a nice, I smell very nice today. No, it's a fragrant that is going to permeate throughout your entire life. That's the level of trust he's bringing you through. But in order for you to do that, you have to deal with the things that you're dealing with today, which is not only do you have to let go of all this survival mindset, because that's when you're not operating in trust, the only other option is for you to operate in survival. So not only healing of that, but then also healing underneath that, healing of all the things that's making you feel like trying to be the God of your own life makes more sense to you than trusting him to be it. That's the level of depth that we have to take in your transformation process. So again, my name is Michelle. I'm a faith-based mindset coach. If you need help with that, go ahead, click the link in my bio to my Beauty for Ashes program. It's 48% off right now. Just put the code FREEDOM in. I'll put it here on the screen. Go ahead and put that code FREEDOM. And not only you're going to get 48% off, but you're also going to get access to the 21-day faith-centered transformation guide. So after you complete this workshop, you're also now going to be focusing on that purging. So the workshop is going to help you clarify, get the wisdom, get the revelation, get the understanding, get all that. And then now with the 21-day guide, you're going to actually do the work to undo these things, right? So this is just the beginning. It honestly is, but that reconciliation, beginning this process of reconciliation is so important because you need to get to that place of trust. Because when you embody that woman or that man that trusts God, then now you also can embody the things and the promises that God has for that person. And that person has confidence and trust in God. So I love you. You guys have a great day. Happy after Thanksgiving. Yeah. Bye.